deal which the president of this country regards as better than NAFTA, but because Mexico's in it and Canada's not, it's really kind of just a half a NAFTA.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, the president, I think, put a lot of pressure on Canada yesterday by having the Mexican president on the phone. And the idea that Mexico would come to the table without Canada, there may be a long way to go here, but the idea that they would have the negotiation and talk about it. And again, President Trump is a man of his word. He's going to try and get things done that he says he's going to.
Deadlines matter. They want to get this before President Nieto leaves office in December. So they were kind of pushing as quick as they can to work with Mexico to come up with 2/3 of the NAFTA deal. And here's a quick look at what is in this deal. First off, when it comes to autos, when it comes to intellectual property, they are tackling this. 75% of the auto parts to be produced in North America. 40 to 45% of auto parts made by workers. They're going to make at least $16 an hour. And when it comes to intellectual property, take notice, China. They are strengthening some of that, especially as it applies to us, as well as they're also with pharmaceuticals. They're also extending that the intellectual property with that.
Right. Regarding the car industry, I was reading this morning in the Wall Street Journal, it said that cars that are built in, for instance, Tennessee or Alabama or in the South, those companies could actually suffer if they import more than 25% of the parts. The Wall Street Journal has taken a look at all the details. They don't really like it. They say, we're glad to see Mr. Trump step back from the suicide of NAFTA withdrawal, but on the public evidence so far, this new deal is worse. Nonetheless, the markets took off, and we're going to have Larry Kudlow, the Director of National Economic Concerns, with us live at 8:30 to talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, so we'll see where it goes. All of that.
You know, and it's one of those things where the President of the United States, Donald Trump, was able to get something done that others had said they were going to fix. For instance, remember when Barack Obama said he would fix NAFTA?
Scrap NAFTA, Senator Obama, or fix it?
I would immediately call the President of Mexico, the President of Canada, to try to amend NAFTA, because I think that we can get labor agreements in that agreement right now. And it should reflect the basic principle that our trade agreements should not just be good for Wall Street, it should also be good for Main Street.
Sounds good.
Yeah, well, I wonder what happened to that guy who asked those questions. But that was President Obama. He never was able to accomplish it. As far as I know, he was not even able to tackle it. And many people thought, well, it's going to start, the success was going to start with Canada. We sidelined Canada, went right to Mexico, and both sides really seemed to want a deal. And I just thought it's going to be very interesting, because the Canadian trade representative left Europe and flew immediately to Washington. They're meeting today.
And last night, President Trump had a phone call with Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, and the readout from that from the White House was very cordial.
Right.
But we still don't have any details about how they're going to move forward with bringing Canada to the table.
Well, and how do we move forward here in the United States? If they come to some sort of a deal, it's got to pass through Congress. There's not enough time to do this one. So does this new deal, would a Donald Trump endorsed trade deal get through a Nancy Pelosi run House? Probably not.
But, Steve, the thing is, this is for workers. AFL-CIO will now have a role, somehow expand their voter rolls into Mexico. So this is a pro-worker deal you would see on its surface, and it's pro-farmer. Sonny Perdue, the Secretary of Agriculture, is lauding this. They say this is going to relieve some of the tariffs that have put pressure on Iowa farmers. So some of the prices on cars may go up, but there might be more opportunities for workers here. It's also blowing up global supply chains, which are anti-American.
No trade deal has passed in decades without a preponderance of Republican votes and Democrats.
Mexico. Tell me, did any Democrats have anything to do with this? They didn't. This is a Donald Trump production. Mexico. Supposedly, Mexico hates Trump. Supposedly, this was not possible. It's just another in a long line of campaign assurances and promises that have been kept.
Well, there you go. Ultimately, we don't know what the new NAFTA will look like, but ultimately, I said that twice in one long sentence. The President of the United States made this something he ran on. He said, I'm going to work for the little guy. I'm going to work for people to try to figure out better trade policies for the United States. It is, he says, a step.
And we'll see how Democrats respond. I mean, Chuck Schumer has accused the president of being all talk, no action on trade. Nancy Pelosi has done the same thing, even though they both called for changes to NAFTA. So we'll see what the details are with Larry Kudlow coming up in the 8:30.
Right. Katie's promoting and bragging.
That's right. There has been a
trying to get it all in, guys.
bragging about Larry Kudlow.
Hey, I got to tell you that Michael Cohen, famed former lawyer of Donald Trump, has made a lot of dumb statements and done a lot of dumb things. But probably his dumbest thing was hiring Lanny Davis, and that he is somebody who is a smart guy. He's a lawyer. I get it. He's a crisis manager. That's true. But Lanny Davis is representing Michael Cohen simply on behalf of Hillary Clinton. You want more proof of it? Look at what he's done over the last few days. Caught lying. Lying Lanny, caught lying about what Michael Cohen knew about Russia, hacking, and that famed Trump Tower meeting.
Well, in particular, let's talk about that Trump Tower meeting. Mr. Davis made it clear that his client, Michael Cohen, was willing to talk to the Mueller team because he had information that Donald Trump personally knew about that meeting before it happened. Well, now Lanny's walking that back because he doesn't have a little egg on his face. It's a whole omelet. He talked to BuzzFeed last night, and here is the headline. Lanny Davis says he was a source for CNN's Trump Tower story.
And the Washington Post story. Unnamed source.
Yeah, he told BuzzFeed he was one of the anonymous sources for the CNN report to that effect. And here's the thing. Now that he's backing off, he admits that he lied last week when he denied being a source.
Do you realize how explosive a story this is, Steve? If the President of the United States knew about the Trump Tower meeting, and Katie, and Michael, but I'm just building off the preponderance of evidence that you laid out.
Yes, the preponderance.
But he puts this out there and saying that I talked to Michael Cohen. He knows you're not going to believe it. He wants to talk to Robert Mueller. First off, you're representing Michael Cohen. Why is it a Michael Cohen's advantage to go and talk to Robert Mueller? You already cut your deal with the Southern District of New York. Why are you offering him out there to hurt Donald Trump?
Because it's not a very good deal.
That, and this is, you know, you have to look at the sourcing from a reporter's perspective. I mean, there have been so many false stories based on these anonymous sources who have not been revealed. We know in this case it was Lanny Davis, who is a political operative. So it brings into question not just the reporting on it, but what Michael Cohen's what his motives are, what Lanny Davis's motive was in getting involved in the first place. And quite frankly, if he's walking back this one bombshell that they thought they had for the Mueller team, do they really have anything else?
Well, think about last week. Last week, it was all about Michael Cohen is flipped. He's cut a deal with the Southern District U.S. Attorney's Office. That was gigantic. But then he got bigger because Lanny said, look, he's got stuff. He can tell him if he wants to talk to him.
And then, just kidding, doesn't really have any stuff to tell him because I lied about it. Well, too bad.
We had to find out the real story because you don't just get that wrong.
That's the real story. He made it up.
But why would you make it up
because
knowing
he's a
the
political
ramifications
operative
from what he says?
Because Lanny Davis is a political operative. That is his goal. He is avenging Hillary Clinton's loss. That is what this is about.
But then again, maybe he wanted some sort of a deal from the Mueller team. Look, my guy doesn't have much of a deal with the U.S. attorney from the Southern District. So if Mueller wants to give us a deal, we're willing to talk. Of course, it has since exploded, and Mr. Davis is embarrassed.
You know who's else willing to talk? Is Jillian Mealy.
She's paid to talk.
If you'll let me. Is it my turn now?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, let's go ahead with some of your headlines. And we're learning more about the gunman who opened fire at that video game tournament in Florida, killing 2 people before turning the gun on himself. David Katz was hospitalized twice for psychiatric treatment. Divorce papers from his parents revealing he was prescribed antipsychotic and antidepressant medication as early as 12 years old. His parents apparently disagree with how to treat his conditions. Senator John McCain's final words to the American public revealed in a heartfelt letter read by his longtime aide.
I lived and died a proud American. We are citizens of the world's greatest republic. Americans never quit. We never surrender. We never hide from history. We make history. Farewell, fellow Americans. God bless you, and God bless America.
McCain also taking a thinly veiled shot at the president, referencing hiding behind walls and our current difficulties. The president ordering the White House flag back down to half-staff, releasing a statement saying, in part, quote, I respect Senator John McCain's service to our country and in his honor have signed a proclamation to fly the flag of the United States at half-staff until the day of his interment. McCain's Senate desk draped in black and topped with white roses. Also in the news, key primaries today on the march to the midterms in Florida. We will get to Florida, I guess, in just a second.
That's right.
Because they said no more headlines, so we will talk about Florida later.
That's right. They got primaries in Florida. Brian's going to talk to Ron DeSantis in the next segment, and also a big one out in Arizona.
Primary Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll preview it all. Thanks, Jillian. 13 minutes after the hour. In just a few hours, Bruce Orr will be grilled behind closed doors about the anti-Trump dossier. Congressman Ron DeSantis has a lot of questions for him, and not to mention it's a big day for him in Florida. He wants to get the nomination and represent the Republicans in the race to be the next governor. Today on Capitol Hill, Bruce Orr heading to the hot seat behind closed doors. The DOJ official set to face the House Oversight Committee to testify about his ties to the anti-Trump dossier, which are indisputable. So what can we expect? Let's ask House Oversight Committee member Congressman Ron DeSantis, who in a matter of moments will tell us how nervous he is and how optimistic he may be about his nomination to represent the Republican Party in the gubernatorial race in Florida. First things first, Congressman, as you are right now, what are you anxious? I know you're not going to be there today because you have behind closed doors. What are you anxious to hear from Bruce Orr?
Well, I want to know his precise role. I mean, we know just from the documents that we have that he was functioning almost as an intermediary between the Clinton campaign and Fusion GPS and the Obama Justice Department. He was one of the highest ranking officials in Obama's Justice Department, reporting directly to the anti-Trump Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates. So it's really an unprecedented use of official prosecutorial resources to have him that deeply involved in generating this opposition research. We need to know who else at the FBI knew what he was doing. We need to know when he started dealing with people like Glenn Simpson at Fusion GPS, what his interactions were with Christopher Steele, and the financial interests that he had in stake, because his wife, Nellie Orr, worked for Fusion GPS, and you're not allowed to be a federal official and participate in matters that you have a financial interest. So I think there's a whole host of questions, but he really is a critical kind of wheel in this whole collusion cog that we've been able to expose over the last few months.
But Ron, he has no business even being in this. He usually does narcotics cases, yet we have 60 known contacts with Christopher Steele, a guy working as a private contractor for his wife's company. Here's an example of some of the texts that we'd like to have him explain. Here's one, Christopher Steele to Bruce Orr. Hi, just wondering if you had any news. Obviously, we're a bit apprehensive given the scheduled appearance at Congress on Monday, hoping that important firewalls will hold. What does that mean? That's the voice in my head. Bruce Orr, sorry, no new news. I believe my earlier information is accurate. I will let you know immediately if there is any change. After Comey was fired, they contact him. After Sally Yates was fired, they contact him. This guy's got a lot of answers. I sense he's not going to give any, but we'll hopefully hear from him. I know Jim Jordan's going to be on our channel later. Today is primary day in Florida. When I talked to you a couple of months ago, you were 20 points behind. Most polls have you 2 points ahead. What is your sense going into Election Day?
Oh, I think we're poised to have a strong victory. I mean, I think all the credible polls that actually poll likely Republican primary voters show us with a really, really strong lead. And it's really been that way, Brian, for the last 2 months. I mean, coming out of the Fox debate at the end of June, every single poll we've taken on our campaign has had me up and up strong. And I think you're going to see a strong victory, but a victory that shows strength in all corners of Florida. We have a big, diverse state, and you got to be able to compete in Miami. You got to be able to compete in Pensacola. And I think I've demonstrated that, and I think the results tonight will reflect that.
A formidable foe in Adam Putnam. You guys have debated, you went at it, and may the best men win. We'll find out today. Thanks so much, Congressman.
Thank you.
All right. I mean, while the president's endorsement has meant everything. Meanwhile, straight ahead, you've heard the left say abolish ICE over and over, but a new poll reveals that's not what Democrats really want. So what's up? Jessica Tarlov, Kayleigh McEnany debate that next. Steve will sit down in the chair and roll a little bit. Now he's settled. Now he moves his chair. Then he Quick headlines now. Untraceable 3D gun blueprints will stay offline for now. A federal judge in Seattle issuing a temporary restraining order against the controversial weapon until the case is resolved. 19 states and Washington, D.C. are suing the State Department after settling with the man who wants to publish them. And just weeks before the midterms, a federal court is ordering North Carolina to throw out its congressional map. A panel of judges ruling the current version unconstitutional because it gerrymandered to help Republicans. State Republicans expected to appeal the ruling. This will have a major effect on Election Day in November. Steve.
Thank you, Brian. Democrats not giving up their attacks against the president's border policies, doubling down on their calls by some to get rid of ICE.
It has become a deportation force. Get rid of it, start over, reimagine it, and build something that actually works.
What it's turned into is frankly a terrorist organization.
We can replace it with a humane agency.
Okay, but a brand new poll now showing their voters, Democrats may not feel the same way, with barely a quarter of Democrats agreeing to get rid of ICE. So is it time for the Democrats to come up with a new talking point? Here to debate, we've got RNC spokesperson Kayleigh McEnany, screen left, that's weird, and Fox News contributor Jessica Tarlov on the right.
It happens.
It does happen.
Just for seating.
Yeah. All right. So, Kayleigh, this is such an easy thing for people to take a look at because, for the most part, Republicans have supported ICE, and you see all these sound bites where it sounds like the Democrats are trying to tear it down. So which is it?
Well, the Democratic voters clearly do not support abolishing ICE, according to that poll, but the Democratic leaders do. And you look, these are mainstream Democrats. This is Kirsten Gillibrand. This is Kamala Harris. This is Elizabeth Warren.
Are you saying they're out of step with the rank and file Democrats?
Entirely out of step. And you look also, there was a House vote for support of ICE. Right. 90% of House Democrats would not vote in support of ICE. So 90% of House Democrats are out of step with their voters.
Actually, you've been on this program, and you, Jessica, have said Democrats do not want to get rid of ICE.
Yep.
Some Democrats do, and these are Democrats who are on TV a lot.
It is a vocal minority, is what I'm going to say about it. And we've talked about this a number of times. It is very convenient, obviously, for the right to say, as Donald Trump does at his rallies, if you elect Democrats, you're going to have open borders, you're going to have abolishing ICE, and also the economy is going to tank because no one can make you rich but me. I was being Trump at that moment.
You'll be poor.
Yes, you will be so poor. There's certainly a number of mainstream Dems that are doing it, like Kirsten Gillibrand, though she is talking about reimagining ICE. She's not saying, let's get rid of this and not have something.
That is walking back her earlier comments.
Totally. Cynthia Nixon, though, when you use that as an example.
Please.
But Cynthia Nixon is trailing Cuomo by 35 points and is running a real leftist fringe campaign at this point. I think that poll is great news for Democrats because at least we can use that for messaging and focus on the issues that Republicans want to as well: economy, health care, national security.
But Kayleigh, you know that as we get closer to the November elections, the Democrats are going to keep bringing up that, it was Donald Trump who tore those families apart at our southern border.
Right. Democrats will keep bringing that up to no avail because the American people want border security. We've seen that in the Harvard-Harris poll. Every time it's done, 61% say current border security is inadequate. We just saw the tragic death of Molly Tibbetts. So Democrats want to abolish ICE. Meanwhile, illegal immigrants are running rampant in this country, some of whom are committing crimes. Right. And the problem, you might not disagree with this with your own party, is that you have a small contingency of the left, the radical left, that is tending to run the party. 43% of the vote is what Bernie Sanders got. 13 million Democratic voters. They are controlling this party and making them out of step with the American people.
Well, because Alexandria and Bernie are getting so many headlines, and people try to outdo them to get some cable TV time.
Well, at least to make sure that they don't show up and campaign against them. But as we saw in the primaries that have already gone on, we'll see more today. Yeah. The more moderate Democrats are the ones winning these primaries, as they should be in states like Michigan and in Kansas.
Jessica, Kayleigh just mentioned border security. Republicans are for that. What is the official Democrat viewpoint on border security? Well, obviously, you don't want the wall.
We are not fans of the wall. We do want border security. I always go back to the gang.
What does that mean?
I think that it does mean an increased presence on the border. It means humane treatment of those who are here. It does mean not separating families. If you look at the Fox News poll, you see that the president, who has made national security and border security the forefront of his campaign, doesn't have a high approval on it. 51% actually disapprove of the way that he's handling it. The only area that he is not underwater is the economy. So I think Democrats can seize upon that.
That number is far higher, though. A lot of Americans support the president. It doesn't show up in polls. We saw it in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania states no one had won since the 80s. President Trump won because the hidden Trump voter wouldn't talk to a pollster, but nevertheless supported him.
Listen, we could have a repeat of that. All we can go on right now
and
are the numbers.
He has a higher approval rating than President Obama, I would also note.
Rasmussen, we've also had
No, that's not just Rasmussen. He's 1 percentage point higher than Obama was
at the 46
this time.
versus the 45.
Okay, so there's a lot of poll data here. Ultimately, Jessica is here to say, hey, Democrats, stop saying, let's get rid of ICE, because that's a loser.
Thank you for translating.
You bet. All right. Great chat this
Thanks
early
a lot,
on this.
Steve.
Nobody needs coffee. We're wide awake now. All right, 6:30 here in New York City. How will the Roseanne Barr spinoff explain the absence of Roseanne? Well, we think we got an idea. Stick around. Plus, you know, Katie Pavlich loves politics, but did you know she really wanted to be a country singer like her idol, Reba McEntire? We're going to get to know Katie coming up next on Fox and Friends. If you've got a dog, you've seen that before. It is our shot of the morning. A dog is completely shocked when his best friend suddenly reappears after being gone for 9 months of military training.
Zafir running over to private first class Kevin Lord in California after he came home from Fort Bragg. That blanket drop is known as the What the Fluff Challenge, which has gone viral on social media.
Yeah, I tried to do that with my dog. They would not cooperate.
They're too smart for you.
They're the size of mountains.
And yeah, they wouldn't really buy into it. I tried to show them on my iPhone, and they couldn't buy into it.
You tried to give them a tutorial about how this is supposed to work?
Yeah, I tried to show them what other dogs are doing.
But you're not supposed to show them because they know you're going to leave after you drop the sheets. So you made a mistake.
Hold on. You're showing your dogs YouTube videos on how to do dog stuff?
They were not
We should show them pictures and videos of my dog Gadsden, who has not done the What the Fluff Challenge yet, but I am going to do it. But he's a very smart dog. He likes watching airplanes sometimes. We'll go over to Ronald Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C.
At the end of the runway?
He also loves to match me. So you see my American flag cowboy boots, and he has an American flag bandana. We oftentimes coordinate our outfits, his decision. He also loves Chick-fil-A because it's the best fast food chain in America. He always is very patriotic, just like Chick-fil-A when he goes to eat there, and he loves their refreshing drinks in the hot summer sun.
Your dog, Gadsden, has rubbed off a little bit of the dark end of his nose.
His nose is all pink.
Yeah.
He has an all pink nose. I call this.
He's a digger.
He's not really a digger. He's mostly a condo dog. I wish he was more of a digger. He's a little bit of a diva, high maintenance. This picture of him, I like to say, is his emoji face. You know, the heart emojis with the eyes on your phone. This is what it looks like. But Gadsden is pretty awesome. And if you ever want to meet him, maybe you'll see us sometime.
You know,
walking around the National Mall.
Brian would like to show him some YouTube videos on how to do dog
I would like to do that.
He will not pay attention. You know, he hates the camera, so whenever I have to get those pictures that I took probably 50 pictures just to get one of them. Whenever I do this, he turns away like he's just too good for it.
So, Katie, let's get to know you a little bit. First off, where'd you grow up?
Flagstaff, Arizona. I'm an Arizona native, many generations, so I'm proud to be from Arizona. I live on the East Coast now.
Katie and I were just talking. I grew up on a gravel road in Kansas. You grew up on a dirt road.
The end of a 2-mile dirt road on 5 acres of land. There I am in very northern Arizona near the Vermilion Cliffs, which is near Lake Powell and the Colorado River. A good friend of ours. It's her truck.
Are you stuck?
I was not stuck. No, not sure that truck drives anymore. Here I am in high school playing basketball. I was number 21. I played forward and guard. My high school career ended when we lost the state championship after losing to a team we'd beat 3 times. Here I am playing volleyball. We also went to the state championship for volleyball and lost. So don't know how that happened. Still not bitter about going to the state championship twice and losing both. But hey, there you go.
Do you have any video?
I don't think I watched that. I watched it once, and I just didn't need to relive the memories of losing both of those championships.
Well, you've been a traveler as well. You've been all over the world.
Yeah, I love traveling. I think travel is a great education, and so I've been all over the world, all over the country.
To the volleyball court.
Yeah, travel to the volleyball court, as you can see. Go Mustangs. Number 10 is my favorite number. My birthday's also on July 10th, and so I've been to 42 of 50 states. Still got to get to some of the ones in the middle of the state.
Wait, you've never been to Kansas, my home
state? Haven't been to Kansas. I'm so sorry. Montana.
Wait, you've been to all those states?
I've been to all of those states. Alaska, Hawaii. I've been very blessed to be able to travel. As you can see, my face is in every single one of those states. So that's where you can find me.
When you cross into the state, when you cross over into Oklahoma, there you see a great big Katie Pavlich face.
Right, all those signs that say welcome to Oklahoma, welcome to Arizona, welcome to Colorado. My face is on every single one of those signs at every border that you see.
It's so interesting. I have never noticed that until today. Katie, you also went to Israel, China, Thailand, and Holland. Some people call Holland the Netherlands.
They do call them the Netherlands. I got to eat a lot of cheese in the Netherlands. China was very interesting. Was glad to come home. There I am in Thailand after washing. Yeah, there I am in Thailand washing an elephant that we walked down to the river. Here I am at the Western Wall in Jerusalem, which is an amazing, special spiritual place. I highly suggest everybody go, even if you're religious, not religious. Definitely go and see it. But no baby elephants in Israel. But there are camels that you can pay to ride there, which is a fun experience. So you gotta be careful. They're very tall. I did not see any horses, so no horses.
But over there, Uber actually owns the camels.
Oh yes, Uber camel is definitely the thing. So here's this video. Okay, so here's a video of me getting kissed on the cheek by the elephant. It was very sloppy and wet in Thailand.
Was the elephant told to kiss you?
Yeah, he was trained to do it. Yeah, it was it was consensual. It was fine.
It's one of those things though where they're trying to get a good picture.
Right. But there were so many pictures. They're actually really amazing animals. And one of the babies, they have such a personality. We were walking down this trail to the river to wash her, and she kept bumping us off the trail. When it's a 400-pound little baby, it's no joke. And then after we washed her, she rolled around in the dirt because she had no interest in
I understand. Katie, you also are an adventurer, I understand.
I love adventure. You gotta live life. You only live once. YOLO, as they say. I went skydiving for my 30th birthday. Some of my best friends and my husband loved me enough that they came with me and risked jumping out of a plane, which was awesome.
Who are you tethered to right there?
Someone who works at a professional, thank goodness. He told me that I could pull my own chute if I wanted to, and I just kind of forgot. So luckily, he was there to do it for me.
Did you have to pack your own chute?
I didn't. No. I left everything to the professionals. Here I am in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and Grand Teton National Park. All right, love our national park system. We did, yes. Beautiful. Didn't see any elk. Here I am shooting not shooting elk in this photo, but here I am at Gunsight Academy in Arizona. Here I am again getting onto the plane.
Do you really have time to be hosting the show today? Is there anything she hasn't done?
I've done a few things. It's pretty fun. Like I said, you got to pack it all in. You got to use every moment of your life to enjoy it.
Jill and I would just look at each other.
Life is short.
We can't believe how our life sucks.
My life is so boring compared to yours.
I'm not even happy for you anymore. Now I'm angry.
You can come with me next time.
Is all that in your Wikipedia page?
I'm not sure.
Can somebody please adjust that?
It's on my Instagram page. You can check it out there.
Wow.
All right. I guess, usually people get excited doing the morning show. This is like a come down for you.
Yeah.
This is great.
Right. No elephant will kiss you in the end.
And we also know that you win that quiz a lot on Tucker, and in the next hour we might actually have a surprise for you.
Oh no, I better prepare. I'm going to study during the break.
There's no preparing for this.
I feel terrible about myself, so should we go ahead and do the news?
We'll get some rest.
I know. Wait, we have this crazy story though. I want to show you guys this surveillance video, which is just really honestly going to give you chills. A panicked woman caught on camera ringing doorbells in the middle of the night, wearing nothing but a t-shirt with, take a close look, what appears to be broken shackles, perhaps on her wrists. Police in Montgomery County, Texas, now searching for that mystery woman, reviewing this surveillance footage from one of the homes. This all happened around 3:30 in the morning. The woman doesn't match any missing persons reports, but still, that is insane. All right, someone on Twitter wished for the murder of NRA spokeswoman Dana Loesch's children, but the social media giant at first didn't see a problem with it. Twitter now banning the user for the vicious comments after backlash. In an email to Dana Loesch's husband, the company says, quote, "We have re-reviewed the account you reported and have locked it because we found it to be in violation of the Twitter rules." Dana Loesch will join Fox and Friends to discuss the reverse ruling at 8:45 a.m. Eastern, so make sure you stay tuned for that. So how will the upcoming Roseanne spinoff explain the lead character's absence? She's dead. At least that's what co-star John Goodman is hinting at, describing his character to the Sunday Times, saying, quote, "It's an unknown. I guess he'll be mopey and sad because his wife's dead." The show was canceled after Roseanne posted a racially insensitive tweet. ABC has since announced a spinoff called The Connors. Well, think you've had bad dates. We've all had them, right? But you probably haven't met this guy. He's being called the Dine and Dash Daner. Paul Gonzalez is facing more than a decade in jail and 10 felony counts for his ungentlemanly actions. He's accused of ditching several women across Southern California before the check came during their dates. The 45-year-old's crime spree came to an end when he was busted trying to skip out on a $130 shrimp and filet mignon dinner. So, ladies.
He's facing 10 felony counts on dining and dashing?
Yeah, I mean, that's serious stuff. Loser. What is he doing?
Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right, meanwhile, let's turn to the weather. It may still be summer according to the calendar, but it's looking a lot like winter out west.
Oh, no. Montana just got its first snow of the season. It's still August, all thanks to an unusually cold storm system. Senior meteorologist Janice Dean is tracking the forecast. Over to you, Janice.
Oh, it's coming. The snow is coming, and I want all the anchors that have complained about the heat. We're going to, compile them, put them all together. When we get our first snowfall here in New York City, we're going to play all of you complaining about the heat. Welcome, Katie Pavlich. You're awesome.
Thank you, Janice. Back at you.
Let's take a look at the temperatures because it is hot outside. It's 80, right? And it feels even worse than that. The humidity is crazy. My hair is going to start to frizz up throughout the next 3 hours. The relief will be coming for some across the Great Lakes. 88 by Thursday. DC, though, stays hot and sticky. All right. Back inside, where it's air conditioned.
I thought you said the snow is coming.
It is.
Yeah, look out for the red.
Winter will be here.
All right, go to shelter. All right, 17 minutes before the top of the hour. All eyes on Arizona and Florida for today's key primaries. What are the races to watch and which contest is flying under the radar? That story next. Major primaries happening across the country today. It's kind of exciting. All eyes on the Senate races in both Arizona and Florida. So what can we expect? Here to break it down is a guy studying it for us. He's former Trump campaign pollster, Jim McLaughlin. Jim, good to see you.
Great to see you.
All right, let's start in Arizona because we want to see what's happening in the Senate race there because we know the seat is wide open because Jeff Flake knew he couldn't win. Big enemy of the president. So you got Martha McSally, Kelly Ward, and Joe Arpaio.
Yep. And you still see the president's impact in that race. Because the interesting part is that's why Jeff Flake couldn't run for re-election, because he had gone against the president.
On every turn.
He was very unpopular among Republican primary voters there. And you see both Kelly Ward and Joe Arpaio trying to tie themselves back to the president. But even with all that, looks like Martha McSally's the front runner. The last media poll had her up by about 20 points.
Yeah, there was no presidential endorsement on that, even though the president was getting pressured to go with McSally. Mm-hmm. She's a veteran, too. Let's talk about Florida. And we just talked to Ron DeSantis a short time ago. He's come from as a congressman, military veteran, against the veteran Adam Putnam, who's been training his whole life for this. Putnam blew a 20-point lead.
It's amazing. Just a couple months ago, Putnam had all the money, all the endorsements. He was the clear establishment favorite in Florida. And then all of a sudden, Ron DeSantis got the Trump endorsement, the Republican primary good housekeeping seal of approval. He's gone from being down 20 to now there's some folks that say he can win by 20.
Right. He just shows the president's power in Florida. He won that, of course, by just a point over Hillary Clinton. Now let's talk about something where I think the most intriguing race outside what's happening in New Jersey, and that is Rick Scott, Bill Nelson expect to lock up their nominations and go head-to-head. This is a flat-footed tie. Nelson's had that job for decades.
Yep. Not too long ago, the Democrats thought Bill Nelson's going to have another cakewalk. But in the meantime, the Republicans are really excited about Rick Scott, who's been a pretty popular governor, and he's gotten more popular as time's gone on because he's done a really good job and has a great record of success that he can talk to the voters about.
Tapping into the Hispanic community. How does a rich white guy tap into the Hispanic community?
He cares, and he went there. He's gone to Puerto Rico, I think, at least 6 times to campaign there. He's learned how to speak Spanish. He's always down in South Florida, Miami. and he's campaigning vigorously, and he's out there seeing the people. And Bill Nelson is getting a lot of flack from even Democrats for not campaigning hard enough.
He's rusty. He doesn't have real opponents, and he hasn't been out there in a while. It's going to cost him. Now let's look at the 27th district over in, let's keep it over in Florida. On the GOP side, a big roster of contenders. You got Maria Elvira Salazar, Gina Sosa Suarez, Bettina Rodriguez Aguilera. Who do you think is going to emerge as we turn the page again?
I think it's interesting because this is the seat from Ileana Ross-Layton where she's retiring. You look at Marivita Salazar, is the Republicans again are really excited about her candidacy. She's a former TV personality, and she's from the district. She grew up in the district. She's got a great story as a single mom. And the Democrats, again, thought they were counting on this seat being in the bank as part of the blue wave, but they're probably going to nominate Donna Shalala, who's not even from the district. The district's more than 70% Hispanic, and she doesn't speak Spanish.
University of Miami, as well as Hillary, a big Clinton supporter. Thanks so much. Jim McLaughlin, great job. All right, coming up straight ahead, President Trump honoring evangelical leaders during a special dinner at the White House.
In recent years, the government tried to undermine religious freedom, but the attacks on communities of faith are over.